This podcast is the sole property of Proud Sports. Our thoughts and opinions are our own.
Yeah. They say I walk like a king, talk like a king. You can act around now, say the same thing. They chasing the fame, they all want the name. But they ain't got what's running through these veins. Say I walk like a king, talk like a king. You can act around now, say the same thing. They chasing the fame, they all want the name. But they ain't got what's running through these veins. Make way for the king.
Low sleep because I just made a trip back from Johnson City last night, probably along with many of you. But I'm riding high on good feels. Might as well rename Johnson City after Dan Hauser. Our High Point Panthers, back-to-back Big South champions. And on top of it, I stayed for the women's game last night too, and they go back-to-back. So all 4 championships for the league, one in Johnson City, are owned by our High Point University Panthers. I'm telling you right now, I'm going to mention it again. You're probably going to get tired of hearing it, but these really feel like the good old days to me. We're going to talk about the whole championship weekend, of course. Also, I've got head coach Flynn Clayman plus President Dr. Nido Qubein. And I even have something really intriguing for those that have followed me all throughout this season and know my relationship, you could call it, with the Big South Conference. And that's going to be a tease coming up for you. But all of that is coming up next.
High Point University, the premier life skills university, is ranked the #1 best-run college in America by the Princeton Review. Employers value HPU's real-world preparation. Students love unprecedented access to global leaders on High Point's inspiring campus. And parents appreciate HPU's God, family, and country values. Choose to be extraordinary at High Point University.
It is the Proud Panthers podcast, I should say, and I'm back here with you from teedoffsports.com. What a weekend. As I said, time change thrown in there and a late night drive through the hills of Tennessee into North Carolina last night for me. I swear to you, I made the drive last year up through Bristol in Virginia and down into Johnson City, Tennessee. No problems. Both times, to and from, and really it's more the from Johnson City last night. I'm going through Banner Elk, Boone area, North Carolina, and if you've traversed that roadway, direction, you would be the first to know it's windy, curvy, sharp turns, and it's like pitch black dark, a little bit of rain, and to be honest with you, I'm lucky that nobody else is out there, but at the same time, that's kind of an eerie, strange feeling. So I'm happy to be here with you this morning, needless to say, and really excited about this edition of the Proud Panthers podcast because we did it. And I say we because I heard from both the coaches after their championship wins yesterday, and very complimentary of fans, of the school and the program making the investment. I actually put up on X yesterday, and I'll say it again here. Absolutely no one, 0 other places in the country make the type of investment that High Point University makes to support its players, coaches, basketball programs as a whole by sending its fans, busing them, airplaning them to what's going to be coming up in the NCAA tournament. There is no one has ever else done it like High Point has. And It's an impressive thing. And I say we because I know that both the coaches, I would say the players probably feel the same. It willed them on to the victories that they had. I also mentioned, and I'll just say it here on the onset, I started out this podcast as a way, again, just to cover High Point basketball. I was a part of it a long time ago, happy to be an alum, been a fan before I even attended the school there. And I launched up a podcast just because, man, I enjoy it. It's a passion of mine to follow High Point basketball. And I realize that despite being in this day of age of so much coverage, media on anything at the mid-major level, primarily more in the Big South and really with our High Point team, a lot of this goes uncovered. It goes unnoticed. You know, there's guys out there, Brian Wilmer with at Sports Matters, Russell Wood with the Big South Sports Hoops Hub. You know, those two guys for the conference, they go after it, and really kudos to them because you know, it's kind of a job that it's like being a garbage man in ways. And sorry, Russell and Brian, if you hear this, but you know, it's kind of thankless until you don't have garbage pickup, and then you're like, oh man, I really appreciate those dudes that get out there and do that. And so, you know, you have it at the Big South level, but even still, High Point has pounced onto the scene. See what I did there? So quick that the coverage for what is our premier athletic program in basketball hasn't really called up to that. And it's not for lack of really good work by the school, again, but just the outside resources. You know, I've been in numerous press conferences this year post-game where it's me and it's the High Point Enterprise. So I could mention them, I guess. They were also in Johnson City over the weekend, but that newspaper only runs, I think, like 3 times a week now, and I can only name one person that I actually know that gets it. That would be my grandparents. So I just launched up a podcast because I wanted to try to bring fans more coverage, feed the little passion that I have for it. And I'm so excited that I've been able to be along for the ride again this year. It was a great ride last year, and it's been another great ride again this season. And I want to say thank you to Katie Snipes, who's the SID for the basketball program on the men's side. I want to say thank you to Dan Hauser, of course, the athletic director, who's been very welcoming and opening with his resources. Thank you to Flynn Clayman, because he has been extremely open-armed and welcoming to me on very little rapport working with me from the start. I was a nobody, you know, in a sense to him, and he opened up his resources in terms of his communication and staff, and allowing me to come to practices and being around to kind of watch and learn and see. And that just is a coach. That's a guy, we'll say, that just gets it. He understands that it's all building and it's all creating something here. And so I'm just super appreciative of all those people. And I know others as well, including the university that supports this Proud Panthers podcast. So now, with all that being said, I want to really get into this weekend for some of the game action. There's a lot of takeaways, and really the beauty of it is job's not done. I love saying that. It is not over. We get this little bit of a break. I know Coach Clayman had mentioned that the players will get a couple of days off here, probably resume to practice on Wednesday, but you know, they'll have a second to enjoy it, which I'm trying to do myself. And then it's right back to work, getting prepped, ready for whatever we're given in the NCAA tournament. So before we get to some of those reactions over the weekend and look ahead a little bit, I want to share with you some time that I did spend post-game. Actually, it ended up being during the women's game last night that I finally caught up with some time with head coach Flynn Clayman, but also a little a little extra added in here where Dr. Qubein happened to be walking by, and we caught up with him as well.
I don't even know where to begin. Coach Clayman is with us. It is post Big South Championship, second Big South Championship win in a row for High Point University, advancing this go around against Winthrop. We just got done chopping it up with Commissioner Shrika Montgomery here now watching the women's game. I really, my head's spinning, but I can only imagine how yours is, so I'll let you do most of the talking, Flynn. Catch us up. Where are we at here?
Man, it's really just like a dream come true. Obviously, in a one-bid league, you're kind of on edge regardless of how the season's going. You want it to end in the way everybody wants it to end, and just a relief for the guys, relief for the fans, relief for everyone who supports us that we get a chance to go back to March Madness.
I have to say again, you're the only team in Big South history to win 30 games. And this is your first season for outsiders. For me, it's, and High Point fans and people that have followed your personal career, it's not a first, but what does that say about the staff, about the team? Really, though, you made a good point earlier in the press conference about the whole program as a school.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we have a great team, a great program. We're going to win a lot of games. To win 30 games, though, you have to have an administration that supports you and lets you have a schedule that's going to have some home games. And we're able to do that. And it really is a positive for our program to get to play so many games at home in the non-conference. It gets our guys, a lot of good reps in front of their home crowd. And, 30 wins, I hope this is something that we can continue.
Against that Winthrop team, I really feel like it's a whole I gotta pause mid-interview. We've got Dr. Qubein here with Coach Clayman now. What is your thoughts after today's first championship, now headed hopefully for a second with the women?
The best head coach in America took a team that was non-existent, put it together, recruited the best players, coached them well, and look what happened. One word, extraordinary.
Beautifully said. Absolutely. That's Dr. Qubein here. As you can tell, lots going on in the bowels of Freedom Hall. What I was getting to is playing a Winthrop team like that. I feel like it's a whole team effort, but I do want to ask you about two particular guys today, and that's Cam and Chase, just because throughout their whole season it's been an up and down, a roller coaster probably. So your thoughts just on them showing growth. I feel like it represented a growth for the whole team wide, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, Chase is just such a leader. He leads his team in so many ways that go beyond basketball. He's one of the best three-point shooters in the history of college basketball. He's getting close to Steph Curry now. I got to check his what he's got, but he's a couple threes away from that. It's going to be a top 20 all-time three-point shooter in this game. So for him to step up for us like he did at the end of the year, to win us that Presbyterian game, and then to hit huge shots out here, just love that guy, man. He's going to be a friend for life. And then Cam, he's been through a lot just through college, and he's been waiting for this moment like this. And, he had some ups and downs throughout this year, and I just told him if he just puts the team first and trust being a great teammate, that when we're on the biggest stage, he's going to come up the biggest because he has the talent. He just decided today that he was going to jump higher than anybody on the floor. And he gets 19 rebounds, So he's the kind of guy that if we're going to upset somebody in March Madness, he has that next level gear that can help you in that.
I don't know how else to really get my head wrapped around what's going on. I can only imagine yours. So we're going to let you go enjoy time with Quinny and your dad and everybody watching the women's basketball team compete now. But we'll try to catch up with you here as we get closer to Selection Sunday.
Sounds good. Looking forward to it. Go Panthers.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I will say I have yet to really sit and wrap my head still around this whole weekend. I know some other High Point fans in circles that I'm in have mentioned, they've watched replays of the game and maybe even had some time, I guess, in between stuff to sit and recollect on what we just all witnessed and experienced. And I've had little time to do that, but I have a couple observations from the weekend as a general that I definitely have to mention here. The first is, if I go back to the August time when I launched up the Proud Panthers podcast, the earliest episodes, one of the earliest, was an interview that I did with Chase Johnston. And you can go back in the archives, find this for sure. Chase shared with me that when Flynn, that prior to Flynn receiving the job, and there was some uncertainty over what was going to happen, who was going to be in charge of the program. It was just around the same time that Alan Huss had received the offer and accepted to go to Creighton. And in those few hours, it fortunately for High Point fans, and even more looking back now, it didn't take Dr. Qubein and Dan Hauser very long to really make the correct decision here and get Flynn into the spot that he's in now. But prior to that, I know that Chase shared with me that he had conversations with Flynn, because if you don't recall, Chase did intend and enter into the transfer portal. And he had conversations with Flynn that essentially said, hey, if you get the job, I'm going to come back. And I say that because, sorry, we got a monster joining us here. This, for all those watching on YouTube, this is Scout, who is one of my biggest buds, and he missed me this weekend. I'm not going to lie to you. What I was saying while Scout hangs out with us here, there was a chance Chase doesn't come back to High Point. And, I really point back to that now, because this whole season is good proof that things don't always play out in our lives the way that we intend for them to, or the way that we pre-plan or expect them to. And that's hard. I mean, like, every part about that, being a human and not being in control, especially for some of us that really thrive on being in charge, it's crazy difficult. And Chase having to have conversations about halfway into this season, after he had recommitted himself to Flynn and this program, and he was, consistently a starter the last season, and really at the start of this year. And then all of a sudden, hey, we got to go a different direction with the game plan here and with your role. And he has had to really battle through that different role this back half of the season, figuring it out himself, let alone being ready in the moment that you got to be ready in. So then we can go to Clinton, South Carolina. And I said then Chase put on a cape and saved us at the end of that game to propel us to the number 1 overall seed for the Big South tournament. At the Big South tournament, he comes up huge again. All 3 games in different ways. Definitely the points added and the threes that he made, contributing factors. But I watch him and his leadership and staying cool and calm and collected in moments that were extremely stressful yesterday even. There was one where I know guys were kind of yelling and saying, hey, get over here or get in your defensive position. And Chase is just kind of like, well, hey, they're about to do a review. The officials, that is, felt like they did 12 of those in the final game. But hey, let's stay calm here. They're going to do a review. Let's use this moment to get together and have a chat and discuss some things. And that the whole, I just don't have any other good ways really to summarize other than to say Chase had a remarkable season so far with the way that things have been handled by him. The other player that I'm going to talk about is definitely Cam. And a part of that has to really be pointed to Flynn. You know, I know that Flynn would say, well, hey, it's the players on the court. You know, they deserve credit in this. But there's a lot about coaching that I have seen before and that I watch maybe more so than others, because that was a passion. Again, that was a career that I thought I might want to actually go into myself. And working in this day and age of college basketball, the amount of dynamics that you have to face have also really evolved to a place that, like a Wooden, I know John Wooden is somebody that is deep in Flynn's family background. He didn't have to really face those things exactly the same. There was, I'm sure the challenges then were different than what they are today. So I'm not trying to take anything away from John Wooden. Please don't go there and assume that. But it's just things at this point, they're so fluid right now that on a day, any given day, it's like we see different transfer people jumping in, jumping out. I'm trying to think about Chad Baker-Mazara. I mean, like, it's like he was on the team for USC last week, and then a day later, he's not. We also have all the NIL stuff to thank for that. I had a conversation this weekend of some scheduling things that I believe that college basketball is looking at that I don't think many people have ever assumed or would guess that they might consider doing something like that. So that's a topic for a later day. But Flynn, I tweeted this yesterday, and I'm going to say it again. He masterclassed the roster management this season. And if you want to question that, then look no further than Cam Fletcher. And Cam is also a guy, just like Chase, who had to accept things with his role and his journey throughout the season that preemptively, I would almost guarantee again, he didn't plan on that. And I want to own this. You know, I said several times his personality type is like a wild card. Never meant that to be degrading. But I also said there was some maturation in there that it felt like he needed to do. Well, guess what? He did that. Just in a matter of months, I've seen great maturity, and I'm proud of Cam. I don't know. I'm yet to sit down with Cam. I hope that we'll get him for the Proud Panthers podcast coming up for Friday as we look towards Selection Sunday. But he could hate my guts. I'm not sure. We've never had that kind of one-on-one conversation relationship like I've had with many of the other players. But if he does hear this and listen, I would want him to hear me say that, again, applause goes out to you for sticking with it, for battling through, for being entrenched still and ready to play. And when push came to shove, as I had stated previously as well, and him being the most talented player in the Big South, that was shown for all to see on the biggest stage in the league yesterday. 17 points, 19 rebounds. Our High Point team at the start of this game, at one point, Winthrop owned an edge on their offensive boards 7-0. Second chance points were the only way they were staying in it. Primarily thanks to Dalen Berry and Kareem Rozier. And we needed guys to step up and get some rebounds if we were going to have a chance to make Winthrop one and done on their offensive end. And I'll say that Cam made that happen for us in this game. And for a coach to not give up, to not just kick somebody to the curb, I don't want to share all my secrets, but it was just stated to me when Cam was coming back that, you know, when the time is right, he'll be there. He'll be the most talented guy on this team and in the league. And that's exactly the way that it was managed and handled in this championship win. Terry is somebody that for the whole season, and this includes the Big South tournament over the weekend, has just been the man for High Point. Terry and I have grown closer, this season because I heard a story again back on those earliest episodes of this podcast that it touched my heart, to be 100% transparent with you, because he told me, somebody told me, Flynn, I believe, told me that it was a guy that most people, when he was out recruiting and at the tournament that Terry was playing in, said, hey, you don't need to bother looking at that court over there. And that's where Terry was competing at the time. Like, there's nobody worthwhile over there. I mean, can you imagine that? Like, you're just worthless to some people, thrown out like you're unimportant. And Terry also equally shared with me things that weren't recorded just about the challenges last year. And in recording, he also shared feeling like he was slighted by the league by not being recognized. Well, guess what? He was MVP of the Big South Conference tournament yesterday. I don't care preseason player of the year. I don't care first, second team honorees. I don't really even care about the postseason stuff. In fact, the coach kind of stuff from the Big South again is just laughable still to me. It doesn't matter how you start. It's how you finish. It doesn't matter who starts the game. It's who's in there late when it matters and how they're finishing it. And Terry did it all season, was recognized for that last night. And really, for me, it doesn't matter if he doesn't score another point in his High Point career, although I really hope he does, because I think he gives us the best chance to win is when Terry is driving and making everybody else better on the team. But if he didn't score another point, I would hold my head up if I was T5 today. I would walk off that floor knowing that I'm not just worthless, that I'm not just some outcasted person on a side court that nobody needs to pay attention to. He'll have a very good professional career when things are finished up at the collegiate ranks. Don't ask me when that is, by the way, because, again, eligibility changes for every player every single day. So that's a whole different topic as well. Really, the main, remaining common theme from this weekend, and for those here on the Proud Panthers podcast hanging out with us, appreciative of your time and sticking with me here, because I fumble through this and stumble. I'm just, like I said, low sleep. So I've got a Monday ahead here. But I am so proud to be a Panther again. And even without the championships that we've got, I could still say that proudly by the investment that our school continues to make and be supportive and be there for us, people that love High Point. Our women deserve congratulations as well. I watched both of their semis and finals games, and hadn't caught a lot of them throughout the regular season. Admittedly, I hate that. But just my schedule, it doesn't allow me to to sadly make time for both of these teams equally. But man, it was so fun. I have one last story here on a Proud Panthers podcast where we mostly share men's basketball discussion, but I'm gonna end it actually with a story on the women's side because it deserves recognition as well. Earlier this year, when I started everything with our websites and our podcasts and all the coverage I was trying to do, my man Cinema Seth and I went over to High Point University, and we were doing segments at the time called Making You Proud. I really think those are going to come back. Again, it's something that we want to continue. It just kind of got lost in the weeds of some other stuff, but it's on YouTube. And I will try to post it somewhere. I encourage folks to go back and try to find that on the Teed Off Sports YouTube platform. But in the Making You Proud that we shot, I went to High Point and played a game of thurs, really horse or pig is what you hear most people call it, but we called it thurs, against Aaliyah Collins. And I had never met Aaliyah previous to this. We did like a 30, 40-minute shoot together. She was the sweetest, kindest person during that shoot. We had a lot of fun. I felt like she did beat my socks off. Just all around a really cool thing and a fun video, of course, for us to share with you. I say all of that because she, in the semis, got a pretty significant ankle sprain. At least that's the way it appeared. And as the women's team won their semis game, came around doing high fives, I had moved down just to be a fan at this point, and Macy Spencer is actually carrying Aaliyah Collins at this point. I mean, that's how bad I think her ankle was feeling at that time. Well, basically 24 hours later, now Aaliyah is in the championship game playing her heart out. And I'll even tell you right now, she was MVP of the Big South tournament as well. I stayed after because I wanted to congratulate a few people like Katie Clayman, who, again, just like Flynn, had been so welcoming and open and helped us do one of our first interviews, actually helped me align and set up time with Flynn originally. But I wanted to stay and congratulate a few of the different staff and players that I had interacted with on the women's side briefly. And I was most wanting to congratulate Aaliyah because I had shot that Thurs game with her on Making You Proud before. And here's Aaliyah Collins, who had just won an MVP, had just won a Big South championship in really what is all appearing to be her final collegiate season and her final year here at High Point University. Elated, as you would expect. Cloud nine, I'm sure. I go up and, just congratulate her. And, of course, after she said thank you, Aaliyah Collins says, you need to be careful traveling back to High Point. I mean, I don't know what else to say other than I'm just blown away at somebody who is that kind, thinking about somebody else. Me, in that moment, we've only met like a couple of times, and you just won a Big South tournament. You're an MVP. You're getting ready to go play in the NCAA tournament. I mean, so much has to be going through your mind at that point, and you have the wherewithal to say, like, hey, we appreciate you being here. Drive back home to High Point safely if you're, going back tonight and all that. I mean, like, it's just, that's really cool. And you won't get that everywhere. You won't get that from every player, every person even. So I say all of that again, because it was a weekend to not forget. And we are in the good days right now, Thurs fam. I can't say that enough. This won't last forever. I hope it does. I'm clinging to it for as long as we can get it. And I have confidence, again, in our athletic department, our university leadership, definitely in the leadership at both our men's and women's basketball program levels, because I've seen it up close and personal. I mean, I feel as confident as anybody could, but I also realize that things change, times move forward, and this kind of highs that we've had the past 2 years, they may not really last forever. So sit back, take a breath, and enjoy it at least for a moment. Later this week, really probably all throughout the next couple of weeks, teedoffsports.com, we're going to have coverage around the Big South, of course, with this tournament. But now as we look forward to March Madness NCAA tournament, as a bracket comes out, as we get ready for Selection Sunday, we're going to try to cover this team from all the different angles that we have tried to do throughout this season, but more, I hope. And I'll share this little tease with you again. This weekend, while I was in Johnson City, my relationship with the Big South, it has new levels to it, more woven integration of yours truly with the league. And so you're going to want to stay tuned for that coming up on teedoffsports.com, a new Proud Panthers podcast coming up on Friday.